In this video, I'm going to show you how to make sourdough in a spiral mixer without any stretch and folds. Place it in the tub, wait a few hours and put it in the fridge. It's very simple, very fast. It's going to require you mixing it a lot further in the mixer than I usually do, but I'll show you how to do that. It's about 27 degrees today as well, so I'll be using cold water in my mixes. And I'll also show you how I do the sourdough with the Christmas tree scoring, which I think looks quite cool, and that's good for Christmas. So I was going to make a video today about how to mix sourdough in hot weather with the spiral mixer, cold water and ice. Unfortunately, it's only 27 degrees today. It was supposed to be 30, 32. I was hoping for it to be 32 so I could show you how I do it. But instead, as I've got the ingredients weighed up and the water is in the fridge, what we will do is mix this mix completely, and we won't do any stretch and folds. So we'll completely mix it in the mixer to full development. So I'm going to tip all the water in, except for a little bit. Well, first let's check the temperature. So the water is about 7.5 degrees. And we have 3.9 liters of water. The flour is, this is bread flour. We have 4.8 kilos of bread flour. I'm going to use 600 grams of whole wheat. I want to mix this to about 24, 25 degrees. I don't want it to go any higher than that in the mixer. So the flour is at 17 degrees. So what we're going to do is tip all the water in. I'm just going to leave a little bit for when I add the salt. So just a little bit. I'll leave that there. And I'll put the whole wheat. This is for 12 loaves. So let's put that in there. And we've got the flour. Just so this mixes in a bit better, it doesn't dry at the bottom, just put half of the white for now and let that mix for a minute. When it gets to this point, put the rest in. Like so. I haven't put the starter in yet, but I'm going to mix this for 4 minutes on slow. And I'm going to auto-release for 30 minutes. And I'll just scrape this down and let that sit for half an hour. It's a bit dry now because the water is very cold too. But once I add the starter, it will really increase the hydration. So after a half an hour auto-release, this will be the only auto-release we do. Let me just do a dough check. Quite a low temperature, so this is going to give us a nice 4 or 5 degrees to mix. Like I said, I want to hit 25. Now the starter, I want to add 1.2 kilos. The starter does not smell acidic. So beautiful. Alright, so let me just tear this off. I'm going to put 1.2. This is almost exactly what we need. And I'm going to mix this slightly for a minute. And now I'm going to add the salt. I usually add this later stage, but I'm going to just throw it all in and put it in a bulk ferment tub and go to sleep because I worked last night. So it'd be good just to get a few hours sleep. And we can just do this mix without stretch and folds. And this is got a bit more water I can add, which I will. That's the rest of the water. I'm going to add that in now, or maybe half. Always best to hold back the water. You can always hold back water, but you can't take water out of the mix. I'm going to put this up a little bit faster, speed 2. I'm going to mix this for about 6 minutes. It should take about 6 minutes to get to 25 degrees. we're going to keep mixing this and warming it up. It's getting really smooth. It's been about 3 minutes. It's pouring from the edge. Pour it. And it's starting to become really good already. So we just do a dough temperature check. It's on 22.7. I'm going to keep mixing it for a few minutes. I want it to hit at least 24, 25. A little more water. I'm going to keep adding it. I like to add it in the middle. I want to get this in as early as possible, because don't forget the water itself is still cold. And we're trying to heat the mix. We're trying to heat the dough up. So we want the water in there. So it's been about 5 minutes. Let's do a dough temp check. Yeah, you see it's on 24.1. I'm going to give it another minute. But it's about where I want to go another half degree until it hits 25. Room temperature is creeping up today. It is on 27.3. So this room's going to warm up during the bulk ferment. It's been about 6.5 minutes in total. We've got it on speed 4 now. It's got a beautiful pumpkin shape. It's nice. It's on 24.3. So I'm going to take this out and put it in the bulk ferment tub. Let me just wet my hands and let's have a look at the dough. It's got nice strength. You see that? So, all right. So it's at the bowl. Put it over here. And I'll let it sit in the bowl, in the tub side, for a few hours. It's still a little bit cold, that's why it's a bit stiff, but once it starts to get hotter, it will get more elasticy. Kind of work out where this is. It's kind of there really. And 50% would be here, so 100% would be there. And I want to prove it, that would be 50, and I want to get it a bit under. Because it's going to take a while to slow down because it's summer and it's warmer. This dough is going to take a lot longer to slow down in the fridge. I've got my fridge set to 2. In summer, in winter I have it set to 4. Put dough in here as well, so I can read the side of the bowl and this. This will warm up or cool down a little bit faster, but it will still give you a guide. So get to there, break it off there. All right, so that's even. So it's on 0. So when that hits 30 or 40, depending on how the dough feels, I'm going to put this in bannetons and put it in the fridge. And I'm not going to do any stretch and folds. We're going to see how this turns out without any stretch and folds, see if the mixer did enough of the work for us. I'm going to go sleep. It's proofed about 30% on the tub, and it's proofed about 30% on Blue Olive. This was a little bit below 0, so this is 30%. So what I'm going to do is cut this into 12, let it sit on the bench for 20 minutes. This is going to be 850. Just do a dough temp check, sitting at about 28 degrees. So I'm going to let these sit on the bench for about 20 minutes and we'll put them in a banneton, and then I'll test to see how far they are in the banneton, and then we'll put them in the fridge. Layer on top so they don't dry out, just enough. Now because this dough was shaped at 30%, it's going to be a little bit more firmer than it would be at 50%. But trust me, once it starts to get a bit further in, it's going to get more stickier. And next year, early next year, I'm hoping to get a sheeter, a pastry one, so I can put it on this bench, and then I can do croissants and all my pastries that I love to do. This is ready for the banneton. If you look at a bit. My Eliquot jar is on 30, which is actually, I was a bit below, so it's about 35. I've got the banneton set up. So I'm going to shape them. This is how I do it. I go up to about a third. And I kind of twist. I put my thumb in the middle. Like so. Now, I still want to push these a bit more. So I'll put these in, instead of putting them straight in the fridge like I usually do, I'm going to leave these out again for another half an hour in the banneton. I just want to touch this dough before it starts getting too sticky with the heat. So I do a lot of my shaping and touching of the dough a lot earlier in the process than in winter, where it doesn't get that sticky during winter. So you can shape at the end and put it in the fridge. But right now, I know the further along it gets, the more sticky it's going to get and the harder everything's going to become. So I'm putting my thumbs in there like so. So I use some bannetons without all the lining, so you get like a pattern, and then others I will use the lining to keep it smooth. I actually want to score these as Christmas trees because it's coming up for Christmas. So I'll do the Christmas tree scoring, which is actually quite cool. You use scissors, and then you score it like across, and then you cut it. I'll show you anyway when I get to it. I can tell it's starting to get sticky. It's 75% hydration, so it's not too bad to work with. I won't go much higher than 75 when it's really, really hot. So when I stretch it, it gives it like a really nice elasticy feel. And I'll go over, making sure I get no air in there. And I just get the ears and I push it in. But I push a lot with my thumb, and I don't want this to dry out, so I'll just cover them up. And I'll leave that for about 20 minutes and put it in the fridge. See, it's on, remember we started a bit below 0, so it's on about 35. So we're pushing it for the temperature, but I like to push it just to a minute. So you will notice that the fridge has gone up from 2 to 3 degrees to 7. This is normal in summer. In summer, because you're putting 28 degrees worth of doughs in the fridge, it's going to warm up your fridge and then take time to slow down. So this is another reason why we put the dough in a bit earlier at 30 to 40% fermentation when it's proved, because any later, this is going to take a while to slow down compared to winter. In winter, when I put dough in here at 24, 25, the fridge goes up to about 4 or 5, and it will come back down. This could go up to 8 or 9 in the next 10 minutes. So this is definitely, I just thought I'd show you this. I'm lucky I can monitor my fridge temp. I've also got a Wi-Fi temperature thing in there, which is very good. Say you're doing a lot of bread, it will tell you if your fridge stops working, which has happened to me once before. It's actually a lifesaver. Then you can just take it out and put it into another fridge. So we've got to preheat this oven to 250 degrees, and that will take about 2.5 hours to get there. So the fridge is on 2 degrees, room temperature is on 29.3. It's about 25 hours since I put this in the fridge. Oven's been heating for about 2.5 hours now. Now, tip them out. They're very cold because they're 2 degrees. You can do a pattern. For these ones, I'm going to do a Christmas tree pattern. And I'm going to cut it like this. Like so. Think of it like 6 cuts. I'll just cut these edges. So, you want to do both sides. It's a bit time consuming, but it's worth it. That's why I only did 4, because I couldn't do all 12 like this. The dough would spread before it was finished. So, and I'm going to load up the oven, and I will drop the temperature so I'm going to bake this on 220. So I'm dropping this down to 220 for 25 minutes, and then I'll release the steam. So it's been 25 minutes. And now I'm going to bake this for another 15 minutes, and I'm going to put it back up to 240. I'm also going to open the damper. At the end of the bake, it's been 15 minutes. Got a hollow sound, that's good. These Christmas tree ones they turned out pretty good. So I'll empty this out. That's it. They look very good for bread that never had no stretch and folds. I'll let them cool down, and then we'll see how they look inside. So we'll cut into it, see how this crumb looks. Now we did no stretch and folds. I'm going to cut through it slowly because sometimes I drag the knife too much and ruin the crumb shots. We mixed this a lot in the mixer, and we did no stretch and fold, so I'm not expecting a fully open crumb, but it's going to be a nice crumb. I'd still recommend using my other method of mixing. It's a pretty good crumb for a dough that we never did no stretch and folds on, and this is a good process that you can use if you have to be out all day and you can't be at home watching the bulk fermentation. Crumb is a little bit tight, but that's to be expected. That's why I prefer to mix to a minimum using the mixer. And thank you for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it.